Nuclear warfare, the rise of new superpowers. Many people equate the threat of nuclear weapons with a history text on the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis. When we think of the dangers of nuclear war, the image of some long-haired 60-year-old hippies camped out in front of the White House comes to mind. We tend to think that a full-scale nuclear war was an issue that threatened our parents' generation, but no longer is a relevant danger. But consider the following facts. The US, the UK, Russia, China, and France are rebuilding or upgrading their arsenals of nuclear weapons. The 9 countries that admit to having nuclear weapons have over 10,000 nuclear weapons in their stockpiles. The United States has a thermonuclear warhead called the W-88, which is at least 30 times more destructive than the bomb that erased Hiroshima from the map. The U.S. government has at least 5 nuclear submarines on patrol around the world, carrying 1,000 times the destructive power of the Hiroshima bomb. The UK government is planning to spend £100 billion on rebuilding its fleet of nuclear submarines, each one with the capacity to kill over 40 million people. William Perry, an ex-Pentagon chief, recently stated that, quote, "The probability of a nuclear calamity is higher today, I believe, than it was during the Cold War," unquote. Publicly available military documents confirm that nuclear war is still on the drawing board of the Pentagon. We could go on and on, but the undeniable reality is that the threat of our mutual nuclear annihilation is just as real today as it was 50 years ago. Following the end of the century, the United States emerged as the world's lone superpower. Today, however, the unipolar world is giving way to a multipolar world. China especially presents a unique challenge to the United States' world hegemony. Earlier this year, The Guardian reported that, quote, "The Chinese military is poised to send submarines armed with nuclear missiles into the Pacific Ocean for the first time, arguing that new U.S. weapons systems have so undermined Beijing's existing deterrent force that it has been left with no alternative," unquote. It has also been reported that, quote, "The Obama administration has proposed a $1 trillion plan over a 30-year period to develop a new generation of nuclear weapons, bombers, submarines, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBM, largely directed at Russia and China," unquote. As the United States begins to lose its status as the lone superpower of the world, the threat of nuclear war will only continue to grow. Nuclear arms and the war on terror. The rise of global terrorism also poses another nuclear threat. Terrorist groups around the globe are often well-funded, and there is no doubt that these groups would gladly pay a high price for a black market nuclear warhead. Many analysts believe it's only a matter of time before some terrorist group eventually gets their hands on a nuclear weapon. Perhaps of greater risk is the possibility of the United States or some other Western country using nuclear weapons to combat terrorists around the world. A Cornell University study found that at least 1 out of every 5 Americans is in favor of using nuclear weapons in the war against terrorism.